the regular city council meeting for Monday, June 30, 2023. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll. Edwards.
Here.
Hatsapatinos. Excused. Houston. Here. Kozak. Here. Panzera.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
President Keeler. Here. Mayor Kearns. Here. Director Hale. Here. City Attorney Kazam. Here. Director Miller. Here. All are present except for Hatsapatino. Thanks. And the approval of proceedings for May 1st and May 15th. Is there any discussion?
I have a correction.
Councilmember Houston.
Thank you. For the May 15th minutes, on page 5 of my comments section, it should read the word concerned instead of, excuse me, the word considerable instead of the word concerned in front of amounts. The clerk, if you're able to find that. Okay, thank you.
And then I also had a small one on page 6 of that same thing.
And what was your,
That one on page 6, right before the executive session, where it says PUCO hearings, it should be PUCO dash required hearings.
PUCO, I'm sorry.
Required hearings.
Okay.
That's all. Thank you.
Are there any, is there any discussion on the amendments? Is there a motion?
Move to approve with those amendments.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Proceedings have been approved. Next, we have oath of office. First, we have firefighter paramedic Michael McKinney. If you'd like to come forward, please.
How are you?
Good night.
Good.
Mr. Lynn?
Yes, ma'am.
You gonna hold your Bible?
Sure.
All right. Put your left hand on the Bible. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Michael McKenzie,
I, Michael McKenzie,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Grandview Heights,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Grandview Heights,
and I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge the duties,
and I will faithfully, honestly, impartially discharge the duties
you got it, as firefighter paramedic
as firefighter paramedic
for the City of Grandview
for the
Heights
City of Grandview Heights
in Franklin County, Ohio.
in Franklin County, Ohio.
Congratulations. Handshake picture.
Congratulations.
Follow me to sign off on it. And I just want to ask the chief if he has any words about this mic.
Mic number 4 is we're calling in because we have a total of 5 mics and we're hiring 2 more tonight. So Mike came from us from the city of Dayton. He's got over 10 years experience, strong, heavy background of training. He came highly regarded. He was one of our first lateral candidates we were able to bring in. So he's been here since May 3rd. He's already completed his probationary manual. So today he was made official manpower. So he is functioning as a full-fledged fire medic, which means he's met all our standards. He's up to how we operate, and he's ready to start working for the city.
Wonderful. Welcome to Central Ohio.
Thank you, ma'am.
Great to have you. Is there Michael Wirtz in the house? You can hold the Bible for him? All right. Okay, I will. All right, ready? I, Michael Wirtz,
I, Michael Wirtz,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Grandview Heights,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Grandview Heights,
and I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
and I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
discharge the duties as a firefighter/paramedic
discharge the duties of a firefighter/paramedic
for the City of Grandview Heights
for the City of Grandview Heights
in Franklin County, Ohio.
and Franklin County, Ohio.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very handsome. Thank you.
So, Mike number 5 comes from us from the city of Piqua. He's got a number of years of experience. Again, came highly regarded, highly recommended. And he started almost a month later because he just got married and they came back from their honeymoon. So he's got a lot going on right now. So we're very, very pleased to have him. And he's beginning his book, and we hope to have him as official manpower starting the 1st of July. So very happy to have him too.
Thank you.
All right. Last but not least, oh, Mike, come on back. Let's sign off on this. Last but not least, we have a Caleb in the house. I know we do, I saw you. Caleb Fanning. How are you?
Good, ma'am. How are you?
Good, thanks. Hold Bible for him. All right, put your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Caleb Fannin,
I, Caleb Fannin,
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Grandview Heights,
the Charter and ordinances of the City of Grandview Heights,
and will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
and will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
discharge the duties as a police officer
discharge the duties as a police officer
for the City of Grandview Heights
for the City of Grandview Heights
in Franklin County, Ohio.
and Franklin County, Ohio.
Wonderful. Congratulations and welcome. Chief, would you like to say a few words?
Sorry to disappoint, but his name's Caleb, not Mike. Caleb comes to us from Commercial Point. He was an officer there for a short amount of time, but he was making such a good name for himself, we thought that we would steal him and bring him here. So it's been a great addition for us so far. He's had a couple weeks of training, and I'm already getting very good reports on his progress. So we're very happy to have him here, very happy to have his family here celebrating with us on this. So thank you all.
Thank you very much. We are so excited to have the three of you join the City of Grandview Heights. And next we will move on to the mayoral appointment.
I submit for the Board of Tax Review, I submit Evan Heiser, CPA. Evan's a resident of Mulford. He has 11 years in as an employee, very highly qualified, and I am happy to present him for confirmation.
Is there any discussion? Is there a motion?
Move to confirm.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of confirmation, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations to you. Thank you. Next we have council appointments. First one, Board of Tax Review. You all received the resume. This is a continuation of Tad Unilon. Would like to continue serving on the Board of Tax Review. Is there any discussion? Motion?
Move to confirm.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. As motion is second, all in favor of confirmation, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Congratulations to Kaz. Next, Board of Zoning Appeals. We did have a discussion about this previously at our meeting. Is there a motion to appoint?
I would move to appoint Tice, and someone else could say his last name for me. That'd be great.
I don't
Von
know.
Massacres.
Von Massacres,
There you go.
thank you.
Thank you, that's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of confirming Tice, I can't say his last name. Say aye, so just,
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed? All right, congratulations to Tice. Next, we have comments from visitors. We have quite a few. We will start with the in-person comments first. And first of all, we have Terry Eisel of 906 Copeland. If you'd like to come up to the podium here. And with the amount that we have, we're going to limit to 3 minutes per person.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks for being here to listen to me talk a little bit. 2 years ago, I spoke in front of council about Grandview Heights' lack of racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic diversity. And at that time, I mentioned that I started coaching at GHHS in 1997 in the girls soccer program and continue to do that today. And I've had many, many conversations with hundreds of players and former players about their experience growing up in Grandview. We're together for hundreds of hours from about now until November. And so we have a lot of time together. We talk about a lot of stuff. And the thing that they consistently mention that kind of disappoints them, among all the wonderful things that they experience here in Grandview, is Grandview Heights, kind of how homogeneous it is, and how former players I've talked to when they come back from their first year in college, and how they felt a little overwhelmed by leaving Grandview and going out into the world where there's a little more diversity, and they felt a little unprepared for that experience. I've heard some of you describe Grandview Heights as a welcoming community. However, it's just simply framing Grandview Heights as a welcoming community doesn't necessarily make it so. Socioeconomically diversifying our community is a really difficult proposition. It will not happen as a result of one large overarching action, nor will it be achieved with any magical thinking or hoping that it will happen or wishing that it could happen. Resolutions which don't really have achievable objectives that are supported by actionable consequences will not change the situation. Declaring a fair housing month in a resolution while not doing anything towards bringing about fairer housing will not change the situation either. What has the potential to change the situation is incremental actions that add up to meaningful changes. One of these incremental actions is passing source of income legislation. Our council and our administration consist of predominantly, if not all, Democrats, many of whom have been endorsed by the Franklin County Democratic Party. Source of income legislation is a basic tenet of Democratic Party policy. This type of legislation has already been passed in 7 Central Ohio communities, either 7-0 or 6-1. Communities that are more conservative than Grandview. I don't know what makes Grandview Heights different from Worthington, Westerville, Whitehall, and other places that have passed this overwhelmingly. What are the reasons that might lead us to becoming the first community to vote down source of income legislation? Sending the message that our government doesn't see much of a problem with income discrimination. As you consider how you will vote on SOI once it is introduced, please keep in mind the message that a rejection of source of income legislation will send to the young people who live here, who I work with on the soccer team. Consider the message that your no vote will send to Democratic Party leaders in Central Ohio when they learn how you voted, and consider how welcoming or unwelcoming your vote will make us look. And the last thing I want to say is, I love Grandview. I love living here. I love working with my players on the soccer team, and this is my favorite time of year because the open fields just started, and I call it Christmas in June because I get to work with my girls again, hopefully until November. But I think that we can make Grandview better, and I think this is one small step towards making Grandview better. Thanks.
Next we have Mr. Andrew Lieber of 1295 Glen Avenue. Please come to the podium.
Good evening. This is a shorter version of the comments I submitted online, and I'm going to go through them quickly to get under 3 minutes. My name is Andy Lieber, and I am a Grandview Heights resident and co-organizer of Sustainable Grandview, a nonprofit community action organization dedicated to building a cleaner, healthier, more resilient Grandview Heights. We have over 180 members, including a few dozen experts in environmental science and policy. We love working to keep Grandview healthy and sustainable for many generations to come. In this spirit, I come on behalf of our members to voice our enthusiastic support for Ordinance 2023-01, authorizing a renewable electricity aggregation program. Aggregation has long been a passion of ours. We've hosted a public information session, presented to the Council Finance Committee, and worked with Marble Cliff in getting it on their election ballot last November. Why do we want clean aggregation for Grandview? The climate crisis is existential. Based on recent reports from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres signaled a code red for humanity. Due to climate change, we are already seeing flooding, drought, and severe weather around the globe. And let's talk about how 18 to 25-year-olds feel based on a recent study published in the journal Nature. 95% of them are worried about climate change, 95%. Climate change makes 68% of them sad, 58% angry. 65% of governments are failing young people on climate change. It's easy to see why young people feel forsaken by their leaders. Ohio's leaders gave us HB 6, an epic bribery-tainted law that is yet to be repealed. It gutted our state's clean energy standards, and today we rank 44 out of 50 states in renewables. This January, the state house declared that natural gas is, quote, green energy. Sadly, natural gas will keep warming the globe no matter what you call it. But this makes people yearn for leaders who will take the crisis seriously and are willing to confront it. I get to read to my kids every night, and a favorite is the Lorax, which ends with this quote: "Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better." It's not. Dr. Seuss may not have been specifically thinking of you folks when writing that, but it is about you, because today you have the power to give to people of Grandview what they want. Working our table to Grandview hops, talking to neighbors, and reading our inbox, I know we want aggregation. 75% of Worthington voters have said yes, 63% in Grove City, 76% in Columbus, 62% in Hilliard, and 71% in Marble Cliff. And in every single municipality that has implemented clean aggregation in Central Ohio, they've saved significant money. Give Grandview the chance to vote on this. I've heard hesitations. Most arrangements today rely on renewable energy certificates. These credit the renewables on paper, but the energy might come from, say, a wind farm in Oklahoma. I'm actually a bit of an REC skeptic, but I still believe in them, and I know that they stimulate clean energy development. I buy them for our home use that isn't covered by our rooftop solar. Let's not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. We can start with RECs and later switch to power purchase agreements. So let Grandview come together to realize its shared values, confront the climate crisis, seize a hopeful vision of our future, and boost civic pride. It's not the only thing we can do. Here is where I put in a plug for heat pumps and rooftop solar for the new municipal building and electrifying our city's vehicle fleet. But it is something major that we can do today. Thank you.
Next, we have a group of Emily Hatfield, Mary Kate McKinney, Abby Powell, Quinn Cullen, and Sophie Patel. If you would all like to, I don't know, can you see above the podium? What's that?
I have a step stool for
You
them.
brought a step stool? Okay, perfect. If you would all like to come up to the podium, and everyone on council should have received their slides electronically this afternoon.
Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Emily Hatfield. I live on 1212 Parkway North. I'm soon to be a fourth grader at Larson Middle School. My friends and I have been researching how to make Grandview a cleaner and better community to live in. Today, my friends are going to talk about why we should switch to renewable energy. The topics we're going to go over today are how climate change affects animals, consequences of climate change, where clean energy comes from, and how clean energy can help Grandview. Now let me introduce my friends, Mary Kate McKinney, Addie Powell, Quinn Cullen, and Sophie Patel. And now please welcome Mary Kate McKinney.
Hi, I'm Mary Kate McKinney, and I live at 1018 Palmer Road. Today I'm going to be talking about how climate change is affecting the Earth. One example of climate change affecting animals is the koalas. Their favorite food, eucalyptus leaves, becomes poisonous when there's too much carbon dioxide in the air. An example of habitat loss due to climate change is the polar bears. As the temperature rises, the ice melts, and it leaves the polar bears with nowhere to live and no paths to find mates. One example of climate change affecting animals is the North American snowshoe hare. Over time, this animal has adapted to the snow in its habitat. And when the ice and snow melts, the white hare is left vulnerable to its surroundings. We need to act to protect animals. Now, Addie will explain the consequences if we do not use clean energy.
Hello, my name is Addie Powell. I live on 1311 Brody Avenue, and today I'm going to talk to you about the consequences of climate change. Ice melting and sea levels rise. You see sea levels rise because icebergs break because it's too warm, then they melt and add water to the ocean. This is how sea levels rise and flood entire countries in Asia. Flooding. Climate change increases the risk of more frequent and heavier rainfall, snowfall, and other precipitation. This increases the risk of flooding. Extreme heat. A warming climate can contribute to the intensity of heat waves by increasing the chances of very hot days and nights. Last summer's power outage was a result of extreme heat. Bigger storms. Climate change is making the air warmer, which allows it to hold more moisture, and both of those factors can boost the chance of thunderstorms. Now I will hand it off to Quinn. Hi, I'm Quinn Cullen, and I live at 1336 Lincoln Road. I will be telling you about the types of clean energy, where Grandview will probably be getting their clean energy from, and Ohio energy. The types of clean energy are solar, wind, hydro, geothermal, and biomass. The number one state that makes the most clean energy is Texas. Texas makes 34 million megawatt hours of clean energy. The clean energy Texas makes the most of is wind power. The second biggest producer of clean energy is Washington. Washington makes 25 million megawatt hours of clean energy. The clean energy Washington makes the most of is hydropower. California is the third biggest producer of clean energy. California makes 19.5 million megawatt hours. The clean energy source that California makes the most of is solar power. The last state I will be talking to you about is our very own state, Ohio. Ohio gets about a quarter of all its energy right now from other states in the U.S. and Canada. Ohio makes only 1.5 million megawatt hours of clean energy. In 2021, clean energy made up about 4% of Ohio's total in-state energy supply. Wind power made up 3/5 of this. Most of Ohio's wind farms are located in northwest Ohio. As you can see, Ohio has room to improve in its clean energy generation and use. Now, I'll hand it off to Sophie. Hello, my name is Sophie Patel. I live on 1333 Oakland Avenue. I'm going to talk to you about how clean energy will help the future of Grandview. If you look at in the presentation on the right, you will see how long the world
has left of the following three sources: coal, oil, and gas. This chart shows us that we do not have a lot of energy supply left, which means at some point we will run out of energy. If we consider clean energy, it will help us avoid the situation where we run out of energy. Clean energy is helpful to Grandview, and here are 3 reasons why. Grandview will be more desirable to younger generations and businesses. Younger generations are looking for eco-friendly places and lower costs. Businesses are looking for places of opportunity. Clean energy provides lower costs in the form of tax credits. 3, new jobs will be created for our community. Lastly, there are 100 cities that currently get 70% of their energy from renewable energy. Our city could join the movement and become part of the next wave of cities. Now I'll pass it on to Emily to conclude.
To conclude, today my friends highlighted the effects of climate change and also spoke about clean energy. More importantly, we highlighted the benefits of clean energy aggregation. As a 4th generation Grandview family, I want to see sustainable energy in my community. So my friends and I ask that the council take into consideration any and all opportunities to implement not only the aggregation but to incentivize renewable energy for the city government. Provide businesses and the residents above and beyond already existing R-PACE program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, girls. That was a lovely presentation.
All right, we still have online comments from visitors. Clerk, if you could please read the names, the address, and the topics into the record, and then they will be attached to the official minutes for the meeting.
Jose Alvarez de la Fuente, 1418 Mulford Road, subject Affordable Clean Energy, CCA. Steve Reynolds, 1070 Virginia Avenue, ordinance 2023-01, electric aggregation program. Amy Dinsborn, 819 Thomas Road, Columbus, Ohio, 43212. CCA is the subject. Megan Ellis, 1450 Mulford Road, clean energy is the subject. Jeffrey Reynolds, 1411 West 2nd Avenue, community choice aggregation is the subject. Adrian Early, 1325 Mural Avenue, Grandview Heights adopts clean energy aggregation is the subject. Jackie Ming, 875 Burr Avenue, apartment 402, CCA is the subject. Julie Golem, 1295 Glen Avenue, support for CCA is the subject. John Lazar, 1378 Mulford Road, community choice aggregation is the subject. Kate Krinovich, 1285 Mulford Road, support of CCA is the subject. Andrew Lieber, 1295 Glen Avenue, vote yes on ordinance 2023-01, electric aggregation is the subject. And that's it. There were none.
Thank you. Is there anyone we missed this evening?
Yeah, I
Right.
wouldn't hear sign up.
Can you please fill out a form and then?
Right here, okay.
Savco.
Say that again?
Savko. Savco.
Zavco.
Yes.
If you want to come up to the podium, state your name, your address, and speak on your topic.
My name is Nick Savco. I actually live 1682 West 3rd Avenue, technically Columbus. My issue, and I'm sure everyone at some point has seen me, I'm the guy with the German Shepherd and the electric dog leash. And as I've listened to everyone today, it's odd how things come full circle. Like my family actually built Grandview. I lived, yeah. Like my grandfather, grandmother lived here. There's monuments all over at Our Lady of Victory, Paul Falco Park. There's, you know, I love this area. It's my heart. It's why I moved here. And yet, in my life, working for my family, being in some of the most dangerous areas, working on the railroad, working with ex-cons and people that have served hard time in the clink, I've never felt more in danger than I have the past couple weeks in this community. I'm getting harassed, screamed at, yelled at, belittled. I have people, beacons of light, who come up to me and they hug me and my dog. I don't use Facebook. I try to stay off of social media. That stuff terrifies me, and I believe it creates a toxic environment because it gets in your head. You know, I believe there is good out there, but I believe for so many people, they become, let me type, champions. It's hard because for the last 4 or 5, my dog is almost 5. No one ever said a thing to us. In fact, Mayor Kearns, I remember reaching out to you after you got elected, and I sent an email about, I had machines over here at Grandview Crossing, and I remember mentioned, hey, can I purchase a property, turn it into a dog park? Is this something we could maybe, you know, think about and do? And you actually invited me to one of these. I don't know if you remember that email. I don't have it, but I mentioned how people claim they love dogs, but then they harass their dogs. They grab them by the collars, and you know, then after Officer Bruni stopped me last Friday before Memorial Day, and he mentioned that somebody called and, you know, made a complaint because I do have an e-collar, but I also walk with a leash because that's my preparation. That's how I was raised and taught. Always be prepared in case the battery goes out. Then the next day on Saturday, I never walk down Fairview Avenue. I never do. But my dog was like, let's go, man, let's go. And we stumbled upon this woman, Teresa Rill, I believe her name is, 1308 Fairview, who works at the Ohio State Veterinary Clinic and veterinary school, and she fell in love with my dog, and she said, yeah, collar or leashes on collars, we are finding studies that say dogs and their necks and their spines, because people yank on them, which is why there's harnesses, but we at Ohio State love the e-collar because it makes the owner be conscious of their animal, and it builds a better bond. And I'm sitting here saying, this is my savior. My dog brought me to this woman, and I've tried to get a hold of her. She wasn't home over the weekend, and I left a note asking for, you know, information. Officer Diaz stopped me the other day and said, you know, that more people have been, or another person called. And then, you know, I stopped and talked to, I forget the female officer's name who was in here earlier, and she told me about this meeting, and I'm like, all right, man, you know, call to order. And in this world, you know, we want people to be trailblazers. We want like these little girls and little kids to be trailblazers. And the female officer that I spoke to, you know, said that there was an email that came out that said, well, the definition is this. And I'm somebody who went to St. Charles, where we were taught, you know, to be Christian, to be leaders, to be trailblazers. We don't copy other people's definitions, we write our own. We set standards, and that is something I take a lot of pride in. And in this community, the harassment I have received has brought me here because I've taken it. It's not easy, it's hard, because my family built this community. And I'm someone who, when I run, I see smashed beer cans, I pick them up, I throw them in the trash. I see bottles, pick it up, throw it in the trash. Because that's what leaders do, that's what trailblazers do. That's what community does. And then to receive the trash words, and to find out that people are posting pictures and harassing me and my dog online, I've looked into slander lawsuits. Not easy.
I'm sorry, Mr. Seffer, could you clarify, the harassment you're talking about is specific to the type of dog collar you were using,
The
correct?
what?
What you're talking about is in response to the specific type of dog collar you were using, correct?
Yeah, and actually I brought, because this Teresa Rill was saying that Ohio, this is the leash I carry. I always carry a leash because they're animals. You never know.
And also, I can provide some background because I traded, and you're welcome to continue, but I'm Councilwoman Michelle Kozak and I'm the safety chair, and I traded emails with Chief Starnes, the police chief, on this topic because I have seen so many people posting out in different forums that concerns about off-leash dogs in the community. And as someone who owns 2 small dogs and who's had larger dogs run at us, who have been off-leash dogs run at us and cause us to be afraid, I wanted to look into it to provide some information, and I checked on the ordinance, and the ordinance does say that the dog must be under physical control, not verbal control. And so then the topic of the e-collar came up, and originally they said that those were okay, but I had somebody reach out to me this week with an email asking about the e-collar. He wanted to have it. It wasn't you, someone other, a bit than me or maybe, but wanted to know because he wanted to use that on his dog. So I reached out to Chief Starnes again, and he said that he consulted with our city attorney about that. And the ordinance was written in 1987, so of course those weren't around then, but about the meaning of under the physical control. And that he was advised that would not include the e-collar. And I did wonder about them because I didn't know about them, but is it the same as with your electric fence? So
Yes.
dogs can get
It's
out of that,
actually-
but dogs can get out of that, so.
Exactly. That's why I always carried that, and that's why the Teresa Rill, I believe her name is, was saying it makes you, the owner, more conscious, which is why and this has a vibration, it has many levels of the electric, which I don't even need to use the electric part. Because my parents they had their electric fence hardwired into their panel box, still twice a year, it went out, and it's like, wait, what? But, so it's like building that awareness. I was actually very anti the e-collar, and then I took my dog to a 2-week trainer, and they showed, and it was like, I thought I fell in love. And, it's not a guarantee, you have to work with. And yet he stays on the sidewalk, does not wander, he's within 20 feet of me. So that's my other thing, it's in this world of definitions.
Mr. Safko, I'm sorry, comments are 3 to 5 minutes and we're at almost 10 minutes now. So, if you could wrap up, and then this is something that I'm not sure we have all the information on, but we can.
And that's what I'm trying to gather, and the officer told me about this tonight, so I'm like, call the order, man. Because whatever the definition of a leash is, I could just go buy a hook with a 100-foot rope, and it's like, that fits the definition. But then he stays within 20 feet of me with his collar on, and so I'm sitting here in this world of confusion, and I love puzzles, so this is a mental puzzle. But it's the amount of people that have gotten out of their vehicles, hugged, supported, compared to, you know, there's maybe, I don't know, maybe, I can only think of 5 or 6. For some reason, the past month has been brutal. And then the people who post pictures and say the nasty things online and create that toxic, that negativity. And it's like, you know, darkness doesn't cast out darkness, light does. And so I'm trying to bring things to light. And I'm trying to be a trailblazer. I'm trying to come up with definitions so that it's like, you know, we're the ones. You know, I'm trying to work. And it was officer, the one who just retired, Conlon. He was the one who stopped me actually in 2020 and was like, no, I love this. I love you. I love your dog. I love this. All the officers that have stopped me love it. But yet they have to do their job. And I respect that because, you know, and yet, like you just mentioned, everyone has these different definitions to point to. And I'm here to help us write our own. You know, because that's what trailblazers do. That's what we want children to do. That's what we want these little girls to do. That's what we want here. We want to be leaders. That's what I was raised to do at St. Charles. That's why I you know, like I'm proud to be here in the area that my family built so that we could do this together. You know, my dog gets harassed. And that's the hardest part. Because he's not my dog, he's not my pet, he's my best friend. He's been there through so much. And I just want to see him happy. I mean, he is, like, he doesn't know what these people are saying. Makes it kind of cute in a way when he just smiles, but.
Mr. Safko, I'm sorry to, we
I'll
are
vent,
way over
yeah.
time.
So-
We appreciate the feedback. I think we need to look into this more with our legal, and kind of take more input to kind of evaluate this. I would ask administration to look into this as well. I'm sorry to cut you off. If you have additional comments, feel
No.
free to email. Just to be fair to everyone, try to keep it at the same length for
I
everyone.
apologize, yes.
All right, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for coming tonight. We appreciate it. All right, anyone else? Did we get everyone? All right, moving on, community partners grant. If you'd like to come up front to the podium.
Hello again.
Please
I'm
start.
Andy Lieber. This is Jeff Reynolds. We represent Sustainable Grandview, and we've applied for $2,000 in funding from the Community Partners Grant to launch Love Your Alley, which is a project that we are doing our very best to copy and paste from the amazing program at the City of Bexley. We've written up a description of that program, but just a summary, a quick overview summary in the interest of time, is that this is a program that combines interest in improving our neighborhoods, cleaning up our alleys, beautifying them, making them aesthetically pleasing, introducing plants that will support pollinators and wildlife, particularly with a focus on native plants, and making us a home national park, essentially. So we've included a lot of information in our application, but just an overview summary is the piece of funding that we're largely looking for is to purchase pollinated plants and seeds from now through October 2023. We already launched the program around the same time we submitted this application. It's well underway and we're getting fantastic feedback. And Jeff here is going to summarize what we've done since just about a week or two ago since we submitted the application.
Yeah, so this year for the third year, we've got plants from our partners at Friends of the Laurel and Tangy Watershed. We got over 200 plants this year, and we've started using those plants and put it out there to people that we had those available. We also made available our assistance for designing these areas and for labor. And we have 34 requests received, and 31 of those are in Grandview Heights. We have some people that are outside the area, we're flexible as far as our membership. We have 14 design and/or labor assistance requests. We visited 8 of those so far. We've already started working on 3 of those. 1 is complete. We've had as many as 5 volunteers show up in those first couple sites. And we've also had people whose houses we've worked on and others outside that share materials like brick and stones, hardscape. And we think we have $400 or $500 of that we've had made available to us, and some of which we've already used. I think that's the gist of where we're at so far. We have more visits scheduled. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions on the grant?
I have some. So the Love Your Alley, is there any kind of check and balance to ensure that you're not planting or doing things in the right of way or interfering, or there might be projects that interfere with your project, or is there any kind of checks and balance with the city to ensure that?
We've inquired as to the alley right-of-way distance, and I'm not sure offhand of the answer of that. So far, all we've done is, pick up scruffy weeds and put out foot plants and then clear it out, so. I don't think we've done any harm, please.
We're highly interested in engaging with the city to make sure that we are keeping within the right of way on these projects, and we're more than happy to follow up with that.
Mayor Kearns?
We would ask that you work with the Service Department to understand the boundaries of the public and private line.
Thank you very much for that suggestion.
I have another question on your budget. You have 31 houses. The $2,500 budget, is that based on your 100? It says 100 to 200 homes. That's a pretty wide gap.
This 31 homes is only the homes that we've engaged with so far with the free plants we've got from Flow. So we only get what we get. Their plants come out of a volunteer's yard. She just pots up whatever volunteers she has.
Yep.
So once we have actual yards and we have an actual budget, we can go out and buy plants that fit places that we have. For instance, we have one that we've completed in between 2 residents' garage on West First Avenue. We don't have any shade plants that we can put there that are suitable for that spot. So we need a budget to be able to fill these requests, and then we can make it more broadly available once we have.
Sorry.
And to be clear,
Maybe I wasn't clear my question. It said on your application that you want to do 100 to 200 homes.
Yes.
Is this 2,500, 200 homes or 100 homes?
Ah,
Or
okay.
somewhere in between. That's
So,
a very large.
to preliminarily, just the first piece of that, we launched the program on May 22nd, and the 31 that we mentioned are the people who filled out our Google form within about the first week or so of launching. We can certainly spend $2,500 of this project on 100 houses. If we get 200 applications, we will dilute the share of the plants and resources that we have across those houses and potentially raise more funds from our community and do the best that we can. We'd love to have the problem of too many people who want to participate, but we can absolutely spend those funds on 100 people.
And I'd like to add too that some of these houses you go and they have a 5-foot by 10-foot area next to their trash cans. Other places you go, and I was at a guy's house last night on Copeland, and he's on a corner lot, and he's got 80 to 100 feet of frontage. So, you don't know what you're gonna get to until you get there. So for that guy, we just said, hey, we can only do a little chunk because we can't give you all 200 of our plants.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be very quick, easier budget there. Yeah.
And can I also
Just
just,
yes,
Councilmember Jones. A couple of months ago, I had emailed with some legislation to change. We currently have an ordinance that lists milkweed as a noxious weed. And I had emailed about that, getting that changed, and I submitted my new legislation, but there wasn't time at the moment, so they asked me to wait. And this is as part of that, I inquired about this project with what's the easement in the back of the alley, because I thought that there was some regulation about that, and I have a meeting scheduled on June 20th. I thought it was going to be working with, the department's kind of changed, so now it's going to be working with the Parks and Rec, so with Director Hale and Director Patterson. So that was part of the delay, because I had put the question out, but they hadn't had time to have that meeting yet.
Milkweed is the only host plant available to monarch butterflies, whose population has dropped by about 80% in the last, or 90% in the last several decades. I'm going to say here on the record, I've got at least a dozen milkweeds on my property. I'd love to talk to the city about the ordinance labeling milkweed as an office weed. My wife won't be happy if you knock on my door.
Well, I will say that is a separate but related issue at this point, so.
But as part of that was, all I was commenting on was that I did inquire about what the easement is in the alley, and I hadn't gotten a reply because we're gonna have a meeting on Tuesday. But if they wanna reach out, then maybe they would have a quicker reply.
Okay, well, again, separate but related, so we'll keep it to the community partners grant right now and look at legislation later. Is there any other questions related to the grant, thoughts, comments?
May I just say on the record that I'm very supportive. I've followed the work of Sustainable Grandview and also Flow, and I posted on my yard some of the native plants in the community and trees. So I just urge my council colleagues to support. I think it would be a very good use of our community grant funds.
We want to thank the city and council for making the Community Partners Funding Program available. It's a fantastic program. We haven't approached for funding like this before, but we're really excited for the potential to work together on something like this. So,
What do we have again in our remaining our grant round?
Megan, was it for?
You have 2,500.
2,500. Okay, so this would bring us down to $500 left. If we fulfill the whole amount. Thoughts?
Was there a secondary request for the community grant funds?
There are
Was
no
that-
other requests at
Thank
this
you.
time, but it does not end until October 30.
Thank you.
There was one last.
Thank you.
Oh, those funds that are already out of the community grant.
That's already included, okay,
Yeah.
that's what I was,
Yeah.
thank you.
Is there a motion?
I would move to approve funding at the requested level.
2,000.
Yes, 2,000. Excuse me.
Is there a second?
I would second.
Motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, go
Thank
for
you.
it and make beautiful alleys.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. All right. Oh my gosh. We're only on to the first. Next, department head reports, building and zoning.
We have the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Megan, I almost said that. I know, I'm sure everyone's here for the opening of the public hearing for the 2024 tax budget. We will officially call to order. Are there any comments? Anybody? Is there a motion to close?
Move to close.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We close the public hearing for the 2024 tax budget. Always very exciting. Right, this might be the biggest group we've ever had for that, actually. Next, sorry, department head reports. If you would like to come up for your stunning report.
Good evening. My report will be near as exciting as the oath to office, for sure. Anyway, construction activity continues to keep us busy. All the larger projects that have been going on, you're familiar with. The new project, of course, is the Devon building on 875 West First. And typical NRI fashion, pedal to the metal, so it's going up very quickly. Yeah, you see my report. I just want to point out that if you compare the numbers of permits this year as opposed to last year, they're skewed a little bit because I've changed how we take. We get a lot of revisions on projects, and previous director always, I'll make it short, always had a different permit for every revision. I've changed that. It's very confusing, so the numbers are going to be farther apart now because it's an actual, the number of permits is for the permits that, for the project, not every revision. So that's why the numbers are a little bit different, but basically it's the same. We're still just as busy. As far as my department, we had a great team. Had a little hiccup in the road here. We had one of our inspectors that had some health issues and was out for a month. And then our other inspector actually got a promotion and went to Logan County to be a CBO. So we're back looking for another inspector, and we're going to start interviewing on Thursday. So it's just a little hiccup. I'm sure we'll come out better than we were. So.
Okay. Are there any questions for the director?
Just quickly, do we have an idea of the completion date for the Eddington on First?
No, that's been a real pain in our side. We don't. We've had a lot of complaints, and I've spoken with the superintendent on that job. They had all these dates that they were trying to hit, and with the fire, it just really slowed everything down. I keep getting dates. Originally they wanted to occupy 3 units, and then every 2 weeks they were going to release 3 more. I think that's that date's kind of already went by. So I know a lot of the people that are trying to purchase them are really frustrated as well. So the unfortunate thing for us is that they have a permit, and as long as they make progress, we really can't do anything. And they are making progress, but it's just very, very slow.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, you are dismissed. Thank you
All right,
very much.
thank you very much.
You're welcome to stay till the end. All right, next we have council committee reports, finance.
Yes, we met at 6:45 for an ordinance, and I can speak to that when it's over the agenda.
Planning administration is not here. Recreation services and public facilities.
No meeting, no report.
Public safety. No meeting, no reports. Economic development.
No meeting, no report.
Aggregation.
No meeting, gonna do it.
Let's hear it.
So, as you all know, last year, a committee was formed for the purpose of exploring the topic of renewable energy aggregation, the impact to the city, our residents, and kind of what steps would be needed to move forward. The committee met 5 times between September of 2022 and April of 2023, in which we heard from other communities who had already placed the issue before the voters and moved forward to implement their programs, as well as raised different points for discussion. If council would vote affirmatively on the legislation tonight, the aggregation program would be placed on the November 2023 ballot. In May, we asked for.
Aubrey, the Arizona, it's really hard to hear you. Can you speak up a little bit for me?
Sure.
Thank you.
In May, we asked for another month to obtain a little bit more information. One question that we had been looking into was whether the commercial buildings in the Grandview Yard would be able to participate. At this time, they are already participating in another aggregation program, and so as best we know, they will not be. But if I learn any more information, I will be sure to pass that along. We also clarified our remaining legal questions with Joelle related to some of the selection of consultants, and we confirmed AEP usage numbers, which was something that had been asked of us. The price increase, of course, is in effect from AEP. The average residential consumer uses 1,000 kilowatt hours of energy per month. So take the average residential bill from $155 to $198 until May 2024. So we were looking for that piece of information, and we're able to obtain that from AEP. We also requested the proposed legislation to be amended slightly for the provider contracts to come back to council versus the way that the legislation was written. Council would enable us to move forward in perpetuity. So what we were asking for was a little bit more transparency and to offer council the opportunity for when the provider contracts come back and we go out to market, we bring it back to council, get to have a discussion about council's comfort level with the price, any renewable energy certificates, and kind of open up that conversation, because as we know, not only does the market evolve, but council has the potential to change too, so it would give any new members a chance to participate in that conversation. So should council vote to approve the legislation, we intend to follow up with some additional discussion. If you would permit a committee of the whole meeting to give council a vote, and we would move forward with consultant selection, bring a consultant back to really have some more in-depth discussions with council. One of the topics being, Councilmember Houston had recommended that we value competitive pricing and sustainability equally and make those two things equal priorities when going to the market. And so things like that we would want some additional discussion on, just to make sure that we're clear on council's direction as we would advance our efforts. That's really all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions, but we have all the information we need to move forward.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Houston.
Thank you. Director Hill, could you please repeat the average bill prices?
The
for
average
what to
bill is expected, right now, it would have been $155 per month. It is expected to go to $198 per month until May of 2024 under the current AEP pricing.
Okay. And then I apologize, I had to step out for a minute. One of the things you were looking into was the yard.
Yes.
And I think I missed that part. Would you mind saying that?
At this point, they are already participating in another aggregation program, so as it stands today, we do not believe they'll be participating. However, if that changes, we will be sure to let everyone know.
And can I ask
Okay,
those
thank
averages are, the averages are for everyone, including the yard, or just all of us except the yard?
It's the average residential, I assume, single-family home. That's what AEP provided to us.
It's a 28% rate increase across the board.
Yes.
But for all single-family homes in Grandview and like including the yard area?
Yes. They're the single-family homes in the yard, yes.
And that's actually, and, you know, looking at the ordinance, that's one of the, what do you call it, loopholes or ones that would not participate anyway, the language isn't there if you're already
Part of the
engaged
program.
in,
The non
exceptions.
non-mercantile is how they define it, 700,000 or less, which the commercial buildings may not meet the threshold anyway, but if that were to change, we still don't think that they would participate.
Right. Thank you. We can discuss this more when the legislation comes up. For the report. Next, Grandview Library.
The library report, tomorrow night is the first Music on the Lawn. It will feature Columbus Soul and Salvage as the band and Hogback Barbecue Pit for the food truck. The time has changed because the library hours are different this year, so it's going to run from 7 to 8 p.m. instead of 7:30 to 8:30. And the concerts will take place Tuesdays in June and July, except for July 4th. New non-traditional lending items in the library include folding tables, pickleball sets, and STEM kits for kids. And on Saturday, June 17th, from 10:30 to noon, you can celebrate Father's Day at the Donuts with Dudes event that will feature DK Donuts and games, no reservation required. Juneteenth books and resources can be found at ghpl.org/anti-racism. That's all.
Thank you. Next is school. School's out for summer. Yay. Very exciting. And congratulations to all of our 2023 graduates. We are very proud of all of them. Next, we have the chamber.
Yes, they have their monthly luncheon on the 21st of this month at 11:30. They're doing an update on the economic impact of Intel. The presenter is going to be Emily Smith, who leads public affairs for Intel, and that's going to be held at Cohatch at 1733 Fifth Avenue.
Wonderful. Well, someone named Emily's leading. All right, planning commission.
Planning Commission met on May 17th, however, I was not able to attend. I'll defer to Director Coker for any invigorating report from that exciting meeting.
There were several cases, but notably our two buildings which went and received approval, so those are the highlights.
All right. Is the library on that one too?
Was the library on that one too?
I think the school was the one.
The school had some revisions, the school was on there, and a couple other more perfunctory cases.
Kodak.
No report.
Morpsey, some updates. First, I'm sure you've been seeing all the clean air alerts that they send out, the program that they put in, 15 years old now, I think. It's been a great benefit to everyone, but especially those that have trouble breathing. A couple of weeks ago, I testified down at the State House for House Bill 64, which would have taken, or is proposing to take trails out of the public use domain, and eminent domain. Basically, trails are roads for bikes and people to walk, and that is in committee currently. Where it would go is still kind of up in the air. And additionally, I'm appointed to the Sustainability Committee for Morpsey, so I'm looking forward to working with everyone on the committee to see what wonderful things that we can continue to do here in Grandview Heights. All right, Destination Grandview. Can anyone speak to that on behalf of SSVGS?
Destination Grandview will be meeting this Friday.
Okay.
He's been helping a lot, Parks and Rec, with the bike race and all of their events, and also working with the hotel and their staff on educating the staff on where to send people, and he's created some collateral to pass out to guests at the hotel. So those have been his main focuses recently.
Great, thank you. Sustainable 2050.
Yes, so the next meeting will be Thursday, June 22nd at 9:30 a.m. It's actually happening at Delco Water. So excited for a tour of the facility in addition to the in-person meeting. And then noting on behalf of Morpsey, their signature summer event, Riverfest, is happening June 10th and 11th down at the Scioto Mile. There will be an opportunity for free kayaking, canoeing, and paddleboarding. So mark your calendars.
Thank you. Mayor's report.
Thank you. Great Memorial Day weekend and parade. Thanks to all who attended. It was nice to see you all there in that context. Please join us Wednesday for the community open house. Everyone's invited to see both renderings of buildings and grounds and interface with the architect teams. Obviously, it's event season. Tour to Grandview Saturday, starting at 1. Hope to see some of you there as well. And finally, on the sustainability topic, we had an extremely successful e-waste event with PCs for People. We collected over 6,000 pounds of e-waste, and that's really fantastic. So that's all I have.
I actually have a question regarding that. Someone asked me yesterday, do they take like vacuums and stuff, or is it only computers?
I think it's more computers.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, but if you want a location for other items that maybe fall in different categories, if you go to slinkosrecycleright.org, you can pick from a wide variety, and it will give you drop-off locations around Franklin County that are accessible.
Okay.
And they have a lot of resources on that website, so highly encourage anybody who has not utilized it to go there.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Thank you there. I'm glad I asked. Next, we have Director of Administration. Do you have anything to add?
The only thing I have to add is that Columbia Gas is getting ready to start the next phase of their mainline upgrade program. So in the Mulford Woodhill area, you will see some of that work continuing. So if you do see crews in the area, that is why.
Do we know how quickly that would be happening? Would it interfere with maybe big trucks getting done?
A few months and we should be fine.
Good to know. All right, Director of Finance.
I provided my report. We have some unfortunate trends in some of our revenue streams, but fortunately, due to our new agreement with NRI, that's going to prevent us from sending over $1 million to that project. And the general fund right now, the revenue is higher than expenditures, and I think it's great. Income tax, we expected withholding to be down. Net profits are also down a little bit more than we expected, so we'll continue to monitor, and then at the end of next month, I'll send out mid-year, end of quarter reports that'll show you all the budget versus actual. But really, our revenue and expenses in the general fund are in line with where we should be in May.
That's a good question.
Yes.
I think when I was reviewing that tax budget information, I was looking at basically our rainy day fund, our reserves, and we chipped into that, right, with putting money in for that. No, we did not?
No. We have not touched our 105 days of cash.
Okay,
So-
sorry, I misnamed it, but we did, there was a decline in the. there's a
general
different
fund
in-
balance.
Yes.
Yes, so, and that was, we kind of intended that. We've been saving up over all the years for this big project.
Okay.
And council has moved that money over, but now we're kind of we're not planning to move too much more money
anymore. We're where we should be. And in the
Okay.
general fund, you should be using the money. We were saving for a big project, so
Okay,
we
that's
don't
really
need
what I
to
wanted to
have.
clarify, that it doesn't affect our reserve policy.
Exactly, nope, we have not touched that at all, and we will watch that and continue.
Okay.
You'll be warned well before we,
Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, any other questions? No? All right, moving on. Director of Planning and Community Development, Director Polk.
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually tag team go without order and highlight a couple things in my report. One is that there is actually exciting news going on in the JEDZ, and that is that there's a couple of substantive projects occurring there. You have probably, I think, maybe heard about the Connect Housing Blocks project that's going to transform the old Schottenstein Department Center into a prefabricated housing blocks project where they'll be delivering pre-manufactured homes and helping to kind of solve that problem. And those are intended to be located in central Ohio, I read somewhere recently. So it's a good thing for the region. It's certainly a good thing for the JEDZ. And then the second one is a Nationwide Children's Hospital is redeveloping a fairly substantive chunk of Northern Light Shopping Center, kind of the northern third of that. So that's also really great news. Both of those, those are certainly the Children's Hospital project will have professionals working in it. So there's a reasonable expectation of a significant impact to the JEDZ revenue coming from those two projects as they get up and going. The City of Columbus actually has now developed Clinton Township and the City of Columbus have a deal where the City of Columbus incentivized and assisted the Connect Housing Blocks project as a regional need, and the township is repaying that incentive out of the JEDZ revenue. So there is a path that has sort of been created for being able to partner and get the sewer and water that's needed for the township development. And that is also intended to continue. And I provided the actual agreement in the back of my report if you want to read more about it. But the punchline is there's a couple nice projects coming to the JEDZ, and that will help us. Our revenue, so they're going to contribute their revenue. They did not ask us to contribute any of ours. Right? So we'll be whole, if you will. And then I also will touch on the sustainability topic since that came up earlier. Just a few things to let you know what is going on with the building. A new building will automatically perform better because it has contemporary energy codes to deal with, but more specifically, we are designing rooftop solar as an ad alternate to get pricing on that and looking at different options for how that might be able to be accommodated. And I want to let you know that a life cycle cost analysis was done for what type of heating and cooling system will go in the building. And in fact, it's called a VRF system, and it is actually a step up from a heat pump system that can only do either heat or cooling. This is a larger building. The VRF system will break the building down into many little pieces and be able to do heating or cooling by each space, changing who needs what and sharing that burden. So it is the most. It's a little bit more of an upfront cost, but it's a less expensive long-term cost, which means it's the most energy efficient that it can be because we're using the least energy, and overall is the least cost over the life cycle. So we had that level of rigor completed to know for sure what would be the best system for the building. And then we're also currently looking at EV charging opportunities. There have been grants before, there's grants now, there'll probably be grants in the future. We're just looking at where to situate those to position ourselves the best to be able to take advantage of grant opportunities as well as to make those available in the best location related to the building. So lots of sustainability stuff going on, and yeah, I'll leave it there. You can read my report if you have any questions. Happy to answer.
Any questions?
Just quickly, on the Nationwide Children's piece, as part of the JEDZ, that's a pretty big piece. Like, they look similar to the Connect Blocks and the NCH. Do you have kind of parameters around, are we too early to know kind of the parameters around kind of how many square feet the building would be, like how many potential employees? Because That's a relatively non-performing site right now. It'll be
Yes.
transformed into something that's really, so just
Yeah.
a reading through the,
Mhm.
through the report is a big deal for us, and we'll have some kind of questions for you, kind of, offline and through the JETZ, but do you have any idea of what that looks like on the NCH?
I don't, but we'll track down more, more of this information. There's some stuff that, Megan will be doing as Director of Finance related to the Columbus Clinton Township Agreement, and I think we're also improving our processes around, incentives generally to get some additional information as baseline for businesses that are coming in to, everywhere in town, but specifically the yard, where we've got a predetermined incentive. We still want some more information from businesses, so we're, I think, working on developing more rigorous pathways that we get that information at the beginning. We don't have it today, but it will be necessary to kind of maintain over time. We do have a, what do you call it, sort of administrative role in this deal, so I'll get it, yeah.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
I did have one, the open house that's Wednesday, is it, I saw there were presentations by the architects, but is it like a sit-down format with the presentations, or people can come in and out? Is it an hour and a half meeting, or?
It's programmed, if you will, an hour and a half. The first 15 minutes, if people want to come, just come in and kind of look around and be on their way, they can do that. So it's sort of gather and wander for 15 minutes, and then we're just going to have people gather around the two displays, not sit down or anything, but gather around the two displays and have them more of an informal presentation by the architecture teams around a number of boards that they'll have. And then they'll do the other one, and then more time to kind of wander around. So if you want to just come in and get a peek, come more towards the beginning or the end, and not have to go through not have to hang out for the presentations.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, moving on. City Attorney report.
I submitted my report and would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the director? Yes.
I just noticed that you put CSCC internships, and I was just curious about that.
The Parks Department is undertaking a partnership with Columbus State, is exploring a partnership with Columbus State to have students basically perform like 125 or 150 hours of observation and experiential learning with the park staff. So it's not off the ground yet, it's just a proposal that they submitted.
Like through their landscape program, or?
No, it's actually for recreational, I don't remember the name of the, it's an associate level program. We do similar opportunities through the fire department with Columbus State.
Through the what?
With the fire department.
Oh, okay.
So it's just an additional opportunity not only to provide good experiential learning to people in the community, but also creates a pipeline of opportunity for personnel. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Old business item number 1. Resolution 17-2023, a resolution adopting a tax budget for fiscal year 2024. Thank you. Councilmember Smith, over to that.
We meet on
Oh,
this.
well, we did have the tax budget here, so that was very exciting. Any comments? Motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Edwards.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Kozak.
Yes.
Panzera.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
President Keeler.
Yes.
Resolution 17-2023 has been approved.
Thank you. Old business item number 2.
Ordinance 2023-01, an ordinance to authorize the city of Grandview Heights to establish an opt-out governmental electric aggregation program for residential and non-mercantile consumers located within the incorporated areas of the city of Grandview Heights, to direct the Franklin County Board of Elections to submit the ballot question to the city's electors on the November 8, 2023 ballot, and declaring an emergency.
Do you report anything? We need to remove this from the table. Is there a motion?
Move to remove the ordinance.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Clerk, please call the roll on removing from the table.
Houston,
Yes.
Kozak,
Yes.
Panzera,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
President Keeler.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-01 has been removed from the table.
Thank you. Chairs, we heard Aubrey's report earlier. Chair Panzera, Chair Gale, anything to add?
I would like to take the opportunity and thank the sponsors for this. It's certainly forward-looking, and I think it'll be productive for the community. Co-chair and Director Hale has assembled a very comprehensive set of committee meetings that were well attended, good discussion, lots of information exchanged. What we're seeing as a result is a lot less complicated than when we began, but there will be some remaining questions that we hope to be able to address with the consultants, and then the upcoming contractual necessities and rules of governance, et cetera. But overall, I think it's a good accomplishment and a good message to send to the community, and I thank my co-chair, Director Hale, for all of her efforts, both in my absence and while I was here. So those are the comments.
Thank you. I believe there were some amendments that you wanted to recommend?
Yes. I believe those are included in the packet.
So we do need to do.
There's a red line version.
Point of information, so what we removed from the table is the amended version or the original version? Because we
It's
have
the
both in the
original
packet.
version, so somebody will need to introduce into the record the amendments that are being proposed in the red line that's before you for convenience. And I think Ms. Hale already commented on them earlier when she gave her report to clarify that once the consultant is approved, the provider who would be selected through a competitive process would be brought back to council for approval.
So section 3.
Correct, I'm sorry, I didn't point that out, yeah.
And both the original and the red line version are in the packet.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
So I'm supportive of these amendments. The only kind of clarifying question I want to ask is, whether you all feel that this will add a layer, right, and some time presumably to bring it to council. So whether that is going to allow the nimbleness that you need in terms of the, getting into contract and the steps that you all need to do on your end, whether this is going to allow you to, move at the pace. Like, I'm very comfortable with it from the council perspective, so I'm making sure from the administrative perspective.
We're comfortable with it. There are other communities that are operating this way.
That have this similar
and have been
language.
able
Okay.
to successfully enter into contracts, so.
Okay.
As long as council understands that when we bring something back, we may need to move with a little bit of expediency if we want to lock in a certain rate, so.
Right,
as long
that's
as we're
what I
comfortable,
was
but
looking at.
we feel good about bringing it back and having the opportunity to have that conversation each time.
Okay.
Yes.
It's less about the speed than the transparency and the opportunity for any council that is operating at any time now or in the future to be evaluated in current conditions and make their own kind of policy judgment about what is appropriate at that point in time.
Yeah, I'm supportive of the amendments.
Thank you.
I have a question. It talks about, we had put this in about the 700,000 kilowatt hour per year, like to exclude those people. Like when I was talking with the executive director, Luke Selfridge of SOPEC, he mentioned that SOPEC is working to try and include them. And I don't know which aggregator we'll go with, but if we were to go with them and then they were able to include the larger customers, I didn't know if having this language in here would prevent us from offering that to a larger customer.
Joelle, is that on Ohio Revised
Yeah,
Code
this is a
specification?
statutory requirement in the code, because I'm
Yeah.
almost certain I can check right now, but
It's,
I think we pulled this right from the code.
492820.
They may be logging the Ohio legislature. Okay.
Yeah. And if it is in the revised code, then if it's updated at the state level, then we would bring this back to reflect the state revised code.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on, yes,
Can I just make a couple of thank you comments? So do you want me to hold those till the end of the meeting, which I'm also happy to do?
well, we're still working on the business portion of this, so before we can do anything, we need to, if everyone's, well, we need to vote on substitution, so we need someone to make a motion.
If we're ready to do that, I can move to substitute to amended version. 06/21/2022.
I think you want the second, I'm not seconding.
Excuse me?
I think you want the other date of the.
It was amended, 04/10/20.
Oh, yes, excuse me. I was going to read that and then I didn't think that that was the correct date because we didn't amend on that date. So 04, okay, I will move to amend to version 04/10/2023.
I'll second that version.
Okay, that's a motion and a second on amending. Clerk, please call the roll on amendments.
Houston.
Yes.
Kozak. Yes. Panzera.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
President Keeler.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-01 has been amended.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Motion.
Point of information, so that includes the substitutions, because we had that first round of amendments, and then this also, that version includes the substitutions. I'm looking at the city attorney.
I'm sorry, I apologize, I was looking for the code section. What was your question?
The amended version that we just approved also includes the substitutions, just to be clear.
You moved to substitute into this with the changes.
We
Is that
moved
what you
the,
just
for the amended version, which was 04/10/2023.
Yes.
So that's when we did the date corrections. Do we also need to have a motion to get the red line substituted language is what I'm asking?
You can do that as amendments from the floor. So you wouldn't need to formally vote on having this language in there. I want to make sure I'm understanding your question correctly. I apologize, the last vote that you guys just took was to move into the substituted version.
I think we said amended.
Yeah.
So
Amended.
Substituted
Yeah,
version.
wrong.
That's okay.
Should I make a
I guess the
motion?
question is whether the substituted version is the one that has the amendments in it. It's noted, you know, both of them are noted as 06/21/2022 amended. For the sake of expediency, let's not get hung up on it. You're going to ultimately vote on this with the amendments. You could, if you want, consider this your substituted version with the amendments. I'm sorry if I'm not answering very clearly.
I believe you just want to make sure that previous amendments we had were in there.
The date
correct?
I want to make sure the
Previous
date
date.
amendments are in and
Yes.
the red line language
Yeah.
is in, and that my motion
Okay.
that I just made sufficed because I said
Yeah.
01/10/2024.
Were
Were previously approved.
a while ago. Those
Right.
are in.
And that's what I thought, but folks wanted me to say the version of 01/10/2023, so that was why I was concerned, because that date references April.
0, I thought it just said 01.
04.
All right, so we're specifically talking about the amendments to section 3. We can, as read, the retail electric loads located within the incorporated areas of the city, including but not limited to entering into agreements with consultants and competitively bidding for and entering into provider agreements to facilitate the sale and purchase of service for retail electric loads, alone or jointly with other political subdivisions of the state of Ohio to the extent permitted by law, subject to any such provider agreements being approved by city council.
My recommendation would be that whoever makes the motion states that it's the version that contains the red line changes that were just read by Ms. Keeler.
Okay,
Just
can
for
I
you
restate the
to
motion then?
avoid
To
any-
clarify, okay, so I move to amend to ordinance 2023-01. And I'm gonna read the number at the left corner. 17741 275 version 1 with the redlined material included.
I will second.
All right, so really complicated.
All in favor, say aye. Or-
Aye.
Or no.
Or no.
Oh, we had to-
Well, roll call.
This is exactly what we did.
Yeah, okay. Just making it very clear.
Okay. You want me to read the roll again? I'll read the
No,
same
we
exact
already
roll.
voted on it,
Yes,
this is
you
just
did.
clarifying it.
Okay.
Right.
Yes, we
Mo-
voted on it.
Move to approve.
That's a
And
motion.
Chris seconded, it's been voted on, it's approved.
No, motion to approve.
Okay.
Approve. Not the amendments.
Final approval.
Final approval, yeah.
Melanie moved.
Move to
Yeah.
approve.
Yeah.
I'll second that as well.
That's a motion and a second. Clerk, please call the roll on approval.
Kozak. Yes. Panzera.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
President Keeler.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-01 in amended form has been approved.
Thank you. Old business, item number 30.
Ordinance 2023-16, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into a lease agreement with M3S Sports for the use of Ray DeGraw Park and adjacent streets for the Ohio Health Quarter Marathon and 5K on August 6, 2023.
Thank you. This is pretty self-explanatory, but Director Hale, Mayor Kearns, anything?
Just that we adjusted the course to meet our needs, and the company, the race host went along with that.
We really appreciate them coming back and working with us this year to create a course that works for everybody, organized and balanced.
Yeah, I actually listed the course. I found it. It looks like a really nice course.
So I gotta sign up, yeah.
Yeah.
And when I say adjusted it to meet our needs, make sure that's included. That's-
Yeah, it all went north.
Right.
Yeah. As long as the end of it's downhill, that's a good thing. Is there any discussion? Motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Motion and second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Panzera.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Kozak.
Yes.
President Keeler.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-16 has been approved.
Thank you. Moving on to old business item number 4.
Ordinance 2023-18, an ordinance to approve the supplemental appropriations for the City of Grandview Heights Building Department for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023.
Thank you. Chair Smith, your committee met.
Yes, we met at 6:45 for this discussion of this ordinance. It was, it's all preparation for the building department. It's more money for the 2 vehicles that are sorely needed. With inflation, having trouble estimating costs, we needed more money from budgeting from last year, as well as $43,000 to implement the new computer program for building inspection permits, which is a much more efficient system. We did, the committee recommended approval to council. One thing the administration has asked for this to suspension of rules and to vote on the second reading. Didn't really get into that during, we've had more of a substantive discussion of this ordinance, so I apologize for that, but with that, if there's no more discussion, I would move to, for suspension of the rules.
Thank you.
Can I clarify the reason for the suspension?
Oh, right, for
Sure.
the timing of there will be a mid-month.
Right, simply that there is not a mid-month, and the desire is to allow the director to enter into an arrangement to get the cars as soon as possible.
Thank you for that clarification. That was a motion to suspend the rules for the second reading. Is there a
Second.
motion and second? Clerk, please call the roll on suspension.
Smith.
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Kozak.
Yes.
Panzera.
Yes.
President Keeler.
Yes.
The rules have been suspended for ordinance 2023-18.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Now I would move to approve.
Thank you.
I'd like to add just some
Yes.
comments for the record. I second with comments. Regarding the software investment, that's a significant automation investment for the department. And I would encourage the administration and the department to figure out a means to metricize that in terms of savings and efficiencies. It's been explained to me pretty directly, and I'm supportive of it. But these are the types of investments that can get away from you very easily, particularly when you're dedicated to a specific provider. So any automation improvement should include a time savings and efficiency standard for staffing. And I'm not sure what those metrics would consist of because I'm not operating in that department, but I would just state and request that that be monitored in some fashion on a regular basis, whether it be quarterly or annually, because these renewals are going to come up. And for future councils, my expectation would be, is this working, and show us how. So, thank you.
I have some comments to your comments.
Sure.
I think that's a legitimate concern. Don't have my head around how we would metricize that. You know, I think there's a quantitative aspect and there's a qualitative aspect to this, and I'm actually going to speak to the qualitative aspect and kind of the sustainability of the function and the improvement of the business process within the organization. As was stated the last time around, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we were upgrading what was a handwritten access database by Ron Ayers, one of our prior inspector, property management, property maintenance employees. And that was kind of a leap into the world of technology and automation. We, as a city, were not, I would say, in the place that we are now with respect to our capacity to, frankly, to evaluate and to implement. As we didn't really have an IT department at that point in time. We went with bargain basement. We went with lowest and worst, in our opinion. We got what we paid for. It's not only, I would say, a lemon, but you know, it's not meeting our needs, and it's causing staff to go around in circles a lot. And so I don't know how we can quantify that. There is a human cost to that. You know, you heard the director. I don't think the department's been fully staffed since I've been here. This department's very challenging to staff, and it is in every city in this region, and you know why. It's hard. I guess back to the evaluation of this, it was a collaborative effort. It was extensively researched. I give staff all kinds of credit for taking this, you know, for taking this on. Numerous departments were involved. It wasn't just the building department. They're all in favor of it. The features, customization, to support infrastructure to implement it. And again, I just go back to, you know, we've got to give people the tools to do the job. It's much like the car. You know, we could say, sorry, Bob, you have to wait 18 months. But, you know, every other city around here is going to say, you know, here's your truck. So we're a competition for workforce, and you've got to, you know, again, there's a human aspect to this. We've got to treat people, give them the tools to do their job.
I agree, and these are criticisms.
It's
just a larger awareness, and if we invested in a tool that's not effective, I'd be the first one to say, we need to change the tools.
And I think we gave it the college drive
Okay.
on this one, and it's just not working for us, and we're in a better place.
Very well, thank you.
Thank you. That was a motion and a second with comments. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Edwards.
Yes.
Houston.
Yes.
Prozac.
Yes.
Panzera.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
President Keeler.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-18 has been approved.
Thank you. Old business item number 5.
Ordinance 2023-19, an ordinance to amend the zoning plan and map of the city of Grandview Heights by changing the zoning classification of certain parcels within the city of Grandview Heights, Ohio, from various classifications to C1 Limited Commercial District.
Thank you. Councilmember Esposito is out today, so before that is the second reading, unless there's any updates. Director Colbert? No? Okay.
19-2023, a resolution designating public depositories for active, interim, and inactive funds of the city of Grandview Heights, Ohio.
Thank you. Director Miller? Yes. We solicited proposals from banks that have branches in the area. We have been with Huntington National Bank for 10 years. We've been very happy with their service, but we thought it was time to at least see what else is out there. We received Huntington Bank's proposal on time. We received a proposal from another bank late and not complete, and another bank followed up with us and said they'll be interested the next time we put this out. So I'm proposing we stick with Huntington National Bank, who has provided us with great service. They're increasing our interest rate and our service credits, so I'm very happy.
Any discussion? President? Yeah. I just found a small typo in section 2. Should the word name in front of the word financial be named with a D? Director Miller?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would move to amend, adding the letter D after the word name in the second line of section 2.
Any other discussion?
This is basically housekeeping, so I would move to approve.
Isn't it in the main section?
As a-
Of the- Okay.
Okay.
Don't we need,
Or
point
do
of
we-
information, don't we need a second and a vote on the amendment?
Or technical.
It's a technical amendment, so he's suggesting that.
Oh, I see.
Approve
Okay.
it with the amendment.
Got it.
Is there a second?
Second.
That's a motion, second, clerk, please call the roll.
Houston.
Yes.
Kozak. Yes. Panzera.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
President Keeler.
Yes.
Resolution 19-2023 has been approved with an amendment.
Thank you. Next, other business? We got none. Next comments from council members.
May I hear?
Councilmember Houston.
Thank you.
And then Councilmember Kozak.
I wanted to echo the thank yous that Councilmember colleague Panzera noted earlier to Director Hale, also to the mayor for supporting the work that went into the aggregation ad hoc committee. Also acknowledging former Director Dvorsky's time on that as well, and Councilmember Panzera. Appreciate the early support from co-sponsors of the legislation. Councilmembers Smith, Kozak, and Edwards, and to the cities of Hilliard and Worthington, whose council members and staff came to speak with us and educate us, to folks over at Power Clean Future Ohio, who provided technical assistance and support as I researched the policy over the last 2 years, to Sustainable Grandview, especially Andy Lieber, who's here this evening, and his colleague Matt Jordan, who provided policy expertise and support for this policy for many years as well, and I think presented to council early on. And then Grandview's Elementary School Save the Earth Club, which was here tonight, and you heard from them. They presented, and I wish they were still able to be here. I just wanted to congratulate them on a really great presentation. So, and to all of you, thank you for supporting this program. I'm excited for the next steps.
Councilmember Kozak?
I don't know if any of you got the Grandview Heights Marble Cliff Historical Society email, but in the most recent one, they talk about redlining our story of past property ownership restrictions, and they show a redlining map for our area. I didn't realize that there were different tiers, so the red, but then after that, yellow, a little bit less severe, the blue, the more desirable properties. I'll forward this email to you, and then there's also another one, A Moment in Time Revisited Local Redlining Experience, where they talk about the Italian community and how there used to be a big wall that was put up between Glen Avenue, where Wyandotte, before Wyandotte was developed. So I'll forward this to you. I think they might have written it because there's also right now an exhibit called Undesign the Red Line, and it's just started at the, I don't remember where it was last month, but the Upper Arlington Municipal Building has this exhibit. You can go Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 p.m. and it talks about Ohio's history with the redlining maps. And I did just want to mention this because of our history with excluding people, just for you to give some thought to that with the source of income legislation that I'm trying to get support for, so that we don't repeat that history. Thank you.
I would say the PBS documentary that was done for the neighborhoods thing, I think that has a lot of good history about the area as well, so I would recommend that as well. Any other comments?
I'd like to reiterate a couple of things that were said and give thanks to all the committee for the Energy Aggregation Committee, all the hard work that went into that, and fellow co-sponsors, all the negotiating that went on, a lot of meetings that we had. I think it goes back for me at least to 2021. The various organizations that came spoke to us, and again, I was not a member of the committee, but I attended most of them, and a lot of hard work went into that. Council members, the administration, and community members, and just a lot of hard work, and the end result is going to be Grandview being a better place to live, and good. It's a great day for environmental policy. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, hell, I might as well round it out.
You already did.
No, I have a different thank you. Since we're at Thanksgiving. No, and seriously, to all my colleagues at the table, including Ms. Stefanos, who's absent, thank you for covering for me during my absence. It means a lot to be able to satisfy my professional and personal life occasionally, and I encourage all of you to do the same. There's a confidence that exists that allows for that to happen, and when good colleagues are left behind, it allows for a peace of mind for everyone. So I would encourage you all to engage in endeavor in your travel, your personal agendas, family obligations, and recreation.
Ryan? Anything to add?
I'm good, thank you.
I can call Rebecca.
Ryan would like to go home. Yeah. All right. Well, I have just a few things myself. Just to explain a little bit more about the House Bill 64. I realize I didn't really explain it too much. The eminent domain bike trails are very important to Grandview Heights, and also all the bike trails around Grandview Heights. And I don't know if eminent domain would necessarily be anything that we would ever need to use in Grandview Heights, but I think it is an important tool to have in our toolbox in the communities around us. And so supporting multimodal transportation in many forms, I think is very important to our community, especially so many of us walk and bike places. So I just wanted to explain the reasoning behind my testimony at the State House, and it did go very well. And
Where is that at right now? Is it?
It's in committee.
Okay.
Yeah, but
So getting.
it will not go through as is. There's a lot of opposition
Okay.
from many large organizations and businesses in the state of Ohio. So I would definitely expect to see it changed, whether the trail, specifically the trail portion, is taken out or amended, is yet to be determined. The other thing I have, also I'd like to say thank you to everyone who worked on the aggregation. Happy to see it pass. Especially a thank you to the chairs and all the work that went into it, and all of the community members who were on the committee, and also administration. It was a big lift, making sure that we did our homework on this, so thank you, as well as to Joelle for all the legal advice. Then with Memorial Day last weekend, Parks and Rec, as always, ended out of the park. You might see what you did there, right? But also thank you to Josh, who takes care of our antique fire trucks. That is a labor of love, and it's getting harder and harder to keep those in working order. So I just want to make sure he gets recognized for all the hard work he does on our antique fire truck. And then the other thing, as Mayor Kearns said earlier, I do not want to have mid-month, so we are not having mid-month. I'm sure you all have vacations and things you want to do in June. So go forth, be merry. Yes?
I have a thank you. I'm sorry, you guys are.
Okay, yes.
I
Mayor
can't
Kearns.
stop when you mentioned the parade. The antique almost didn't make it because the door would not open. And so I want to thank the parks maintenance crew and maybe whoever was on their service permit.
The garage door?
Yes.
Yeah, they had to use a fork
Using a
lift.
lift to get the antique out just in time to pick up the parade.
Yeah.
Say thank you, voters.
Yeah.
Condominium
So,
facility.
all right. Anyone else saying, thank you all for staying to the end of this very long meeting. We appreciate that. No problem. All right, anyone else? No?
Going on.
Okay, we are adjourned.